Yeah, I'm good. Okay, I am presenting on Wilson Rex. Born on February 28, 1862 in Slatedale to parents Reuben and Lucianne Peter Rex, Wilson A. Rex would go on to become one of the most respected and influential figures in the northern section of Lehigh County, with a legacy that touched every aspect of community life. In his early life, he was a school teacher, and he taught in Washington Township for 19 terms in 5 different schools. He ended his teaching career at Emerald as a secondary level teacher. Wilson met his wife during his time as a teacher. She was one of his students. In October 11, 1884, at the age of 22, Wilson married Laura Miller. The Rex family also included 3 daughters: Carrie Rex, who was married and then separated from Victor Wertman; Lottie Rex, who married Dr. Rollo Peters; and Beryl Rex, who married Robert Gower. As his family grew, Rex's professional life flourished alongside of it. Beyond his role as a teacher, he took on several important civic duties, becoming deeply involved in local politics and public service. He served as a census enumerator for the Upper District of Washington Township in 1890. He was also the township auditor for 9 years and Washington Township's Justice of the Peace for 37 years. When Mr. Rex was first elected to be Justice of the Peace in February 1898, he defeated Alexander Peter, who himself held the position for 35 years. So between Alexander Peter and Wilson Rex, that was 72 years of Justice of the Peace in Washington Township. At the turn of the century, Wilson Rex was the yardmaster for F.N. Peter and Brothers Coal Yard, which was located in Best Station. In the early 20th century, he learned the skill of surveying on his own accord and was employed in that line of work. By 1905, he established the Slatedale hardware store at his homestead on Mill Street. It's now Main Street extended if you go past. Mr. Rex was a dealer in general hardware and lawn and garden supplies, having yearly spring specials. This store also sold Atlantic automobile gasoline by the year 1915. While local history suggests that his hardware store closed in 1934, newspaper articles indicate it may have remained open through his estate until 1961. Rex was a prominent Republican of Lehigh County. In 1903, he secured the party's nomination to become Clerk of Orphans Court, but he was narrowly defeated by Democrat Ludus Rader. Later, Wilson was an alternate delegate to the Republican National Convention in 1916, which was held in Chicago. He also frequently served as a delegate to the State Republican Convention and Grange conventions. He was a founder of the Rex Family Reunion and was its secretary from its inception in 1901 onward. The first reunion was actually held at his picnic grove, which was located outside of Slatedale. Wilson was also an active figure in the local banking community, serving as a director for the Dime Savings Bank of Slatington, and later as one of the original organizers and first president of Citizens National Bank of Slatington. Living in Slatedale all his life and recognizing a need for more modern amenities in the village, Squire Rex was one of the organizers of the Slatedale Electric Light Company, holding the office of Secretary-Treasurer. Under his watch, the company's plant was built, which was later sold to PP&L. He also helped organize the Slatedale Rural Telephone Company, which later merged with Bell of Pennsylvania. Rex also had an important hand in establishing the Citizens Fire Company located in Slatedale. In 1906, following a tragic fire, citizens of the village came together to establish a firefighting company. The who's who of Slatedale at that time met in the supply room of Rex's hardware store to establish the fire company and held its meetings there until a permanent structure was built. Wilson was a dedicated member of the Heidelberg Church first, where he served as deacon for 4 years. Then, in 1888, he assisted in organizing St. Paul's Evangelical Lutheran and Reformed Church. In 1903, the church was reestablished under the name Holy Trinity, which was suggested by Mr. Rex. Steadfast in faith, he also attended Sunday school at Lehigh Furnace. Rex died on August 1st, 1937 at his home in Slatedale from dropsy, age of 75 years. He was survived by his wife, 3 daughters, 12 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Now I want to talk just for a second about his homestead and hardware store. The Wilson Rex Homestead and Hardware Store are still standing. It's located at 3917 Main Street. The Victorian-style house features a large wraparound porch and 3 front entrances. It's remained an iconic structure in the village of Slatedale. 5 window alcoves are located on the main floor, second level, and attic. Entering the house, you find 21 rooms, including 2 living rooms, 1 with an open stairway, a formal dining room, and a large kitchen. The home remained with the Wilson Rex descendants until 1983. Today, the home is owned by James and Brenda Graver. It was featured in the April-May 1999 issue of Victorian Homes magazine and was included in Governor Wolfe Historical Society's 2005 Christmas House Tour when over 800 people from the Lehigh Valley toured the Wilson Rex Mansion. Rex's obituary, published in the Morning Call, concludes with the following 2 paragraphs which adequately state the long-reaching impact that Mr. Rex had in Slatedale. Squire Rex enjoyed the esteem and confidence of the entire community. All his life he spent in the section where he was born. He was the counselor and confidant of many people, and it may be said of him that he gained his fine reputation by dealing justly with his fellow man. He was one of those stalwart men who helped to build a community and was never too busy to meet with his friends. He exerted a wide influence in business circles and was a citizen who was honored and esteemed by all who knew him. Next, Kelly's going to come back and talk about the Shenton family and their store.
Thank you everyone again for coming. I know this is a long one. Please take a moment to stretch your legs if you need to. Just a reminder, there are some snacks and water in the back. Bathrooms are located in the back. And I did want to mention, if you haven't noticed, that Robert does record our presentations. He will take some time to edit them, and then he will post them on our Facebook page, and they are also available on YouTube. He has his own channel, Robert Stettner, so you can search it on YouTube and you can find some of our past presentations if you haven't been able to see them.
I don't know why it's not connected.
Okay, again, stretch your legs, that's fine, but I am going to start, so please just keep the talking to a minimum. I will be talking about Francis Shenton. Francis Shenton immigrated to the United States in 1850. Prior to moving to Slatedale, and again it was, as I said previously, known as LaBarsville, he first spent time in New York City, moved to Fayetteville, North Carolina, to Philadelphia, and before moving to Slatedale. In 1861, Francis moved his family, consisting of his first wife, Emma, and their 4 children, 2 of which were twin boys, Frank and Robert. Again, they moved from Philadelphia to LaBarsville to become the general manager of the Lock Slate Quarry Company owned by George and Nelson LaBar. Emma would bear another 4 children until she died in her early 40s in 1868. He was briefly wed for a second time, but both his wife and daughter died shortly after her birth in 1870. He then wed Mary Campbell in 1872, and they had 3 children. Francis was noted for his intelligence, having received a common school education in England, and it was there that he first became familiar with the slate industry. It's noted that he held at least 3 patents related to slate manufacturing and slate products. Patent number 53,495 was issued March 27, 1866, and it was described as new and useful improvements on slate frames. So now again, I found this image on Etsy, of all places, for a slate mariner's tablet. There it indicates that this patent was in an earlier year, and again related to the joints that again would hold the pieces of slate together. Patent number 355,279, dated December 28, 1886, was notated to be improvements in machinery that dress slate for shaping and plating surfaces of slate. And patent number 451,778, dated May 5th of 1891, was again related to some improvements on some of the machinery. Once again, I did find another, on an auction site, a circa, I believe it's 1883, board, mariner's board, for Francis E. Shenton. Now you would think by this time, he had 8 children, was a successful businessman, and an innovator. And that would be enough to keep a man busy. But no, or maybe just get out of the house. In 1868, he decided to open another quarry, the Enterprise Quarry, and it's at that time where he built the red brick building and opened the slate company, owned a general store, which again, a lot of the slate companies did. They had their own general stores. He operated this store for 20 years until he retired. The Shenton, the F.E. Shenton store was said to have everything needed for the, daily living in the community. Finished goods like clothing, shoes. They had lard, molasses, penny candies, meat, buttons. The basement of the store actually held a lot of gardening and building supplies. Anything to do general maintenance around the home. June 8, 1883, saw the re-establishment of the Slatedale post office inside the F.E. Shenton store. And it's probably for this reason that the store was known to be a meeting place for the community. A checkerboard lay ready for players, a great respite for both young and old. They said there was a main pole inside the store, and that the pole was used for a climbing contest. For the little youngsters, and provided many a laugh. It was in 1888 that his son Frank E. took over the store and ran it for 25 years until his unexpected death in 1913 at the age of 54 due to heart failure. Frank E. Shenton's son, Norman E. and Frank O. ran that store in partnership for 22 years until Norman passed at age 50 in 1935. Frank continued to run the store until his retirement in 1959. After serving the community for almost 100 years, the store's contents were liquidated and the business closed.
Oh yeah, there's more.
So there I actually found the application for the post office, dated February 14th. I found another note to the Slatedale post office where the postmaster, again, this is at a time where they were trying to nail down all the locations for the post office, so they had to fill out an application stating where the post office was. And then in our Slatedale book, there was included a nice pictorial that was made in 2006 for the celebration of the 150 years. Everyone knows that the post office still remains open today. Right now, we have Slatedale native and a 2008 graduate of Northern Lehigh High School, Jasmine Rodriguez, serving as the postmaster for the Slatedale Post Office. Frank E. Shenton's 3 sons, Norman, Ralph, and Frank, also shared ownership at the Shenton Slate Company, which manufactured electrical slate, bulletin boards, and roofing structural slate. Thomas Shenton, son of Francis Shenton, owned Shenton Land Company and also operated a quarry in Slatedale, famous for being the largest manufacturer and best equipped plant for electrical purposes in the country. The Shenton Land Company purchased Lock Slate Co. in 1904, and on this land were the following quarries: the Provident No. 3, Royal Blue, Manhattan, Columbia, Crescent, and the Thomas H. Shenton. Now, when I read that, my curiosity was really piqued. Again, I'm not an electrical engineer, so I wasn't really understanding what purpose slate served for electrical parts. So in my research, I found a very cool article that was posted in the Stone magazine in the year 1915, which mentions the Royal Blue Slate Company. The article's there. Obviously you can't read it, so I'll read it for you. The Royal Blue Slate Company of Slatedale, PA has started up full-time with all of its employees. The company had not worked to its full capacity for several months. The Westinghouse Company is reported to have acquired a tract at Slatedale in the heart of the Lehigh Slate region for the erection of a large factory for the manufacture of switchboards. Slate switchboards are an important factor in the electrical industry. A factory now located in Slatedale saws these boards, sends them to Chicago for boring, and then they're shipped back to Reading, PA for finishing. Not very efficient, and certainly not very cost efficient either. So under these plans for the Westinghouse Company, the entire process from the rough slate to the finished product will be accomplished in this new Slatedale factory. Francis died November 20th, 1897 at the age of 71. A long and useful life ended, as noted in the obituary headline. Having been married 3 times, fathered a total of 12 children, and left an indelible mark in the village of Slatedale. At the time of his death, he was survived by his 3rd wife and 8 of his children. His obituary noted that his children lived across the country, and so the fondest time for him was when they would all come home at Christmas to the family homestead in Slatedale. And again, that's all.
Okay, next we're going to talk about transportation. I'll try to shorten this a little bit because I know we still have a few speakers yet to go today. We're going to talk about rail transportation and public transportation and how it related to the growth of the slate industry in Slatedale and serving Slatedale's population in rural North. The Lehigh Valley Railroad was a railroad in the northeastern United States, built predominantly to haul anthracite coal from the coal region in northeastern Pennsylvania to major consumer markets in Philadelphia, New York City, and elsewhere. On April 21st, 1846, the railroad was authorized to provide freight transportation of passengers, goods, wares, merchandise, and minerals in Pennsylvania. Slatedale had a problem that Slatington did not have with the slate industry. Lehigh Valley Railroad came through here in 1846. However, Slatedale did not have rail service. Their problem was getting slate products in bulk to market efficiently. In 1860, the Lehigh Valley Railroad expanded with the construction of a spur line from Slatington to Slatedale. The spur was specifically built for the slate industry, and early on it had little, if any, miscellaneous traffic. The line was a distance of 4 miles and extended from the depot in Slatedale along Trout Creek through Emerald, continued through Bucktown into Lower Slatedale, ran by the coal yards at the edge of town, and terminated near the quarries at County Bridge. Rail cars transported slate products from these outlying slate factories to the depot in Slatedale and then on to buyers in larger cities. John Craig and his brother William of Lehigh Gap were the contractors for the rail project, as Craig was a railroad construction contractor. Colonel Craig, as he was known, was a veteran of the Civil War and rose through the ranks to become colonel of the 147th Regiment Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry on June 14, 1865. Some of you may have heard of Craig in another capacity as proprietor of J&W Craig General Merchandise Store and Postmaster, both in Lehigh Gap. Craig was born in 1830 and died in 1908 at the age of 77. Henry William Blose, owner of a lumber company in Slatedale, provided the Lehigh Valley Railroad with the ties for the rail line. It should be noted that around this time period, it was becoming clear that the slate industry had become financially strong enough to justify the installation of spur routes, specifically for the transportation of slate products. As slate production increased at a tremendous rate during the 1860s and 1870s, the railroads capitalized on the revenue and competed for this resource. Although this improvement was solicited by the quarry owners, there was an obvious savings for them with using rail cars over carting slate products and hauling them on roads. However, it was not without a cost. They were obliged to furnish a fee right-of-way to the Lehigh Valley Railroad and be levied a tax of 40 cents per ton for carrying slate in full carload.